Hiya, it's me, the Sea Tactics, and this is your no-nonsense recap for ReZero Season 2. If you want a full recap of Season 1, check it out in the cards above or the description below. Since I'm a partner with GamerSubs, use code Sea Tactics to get 10% off all orders site-wide. And yes, I implore you at least to order free samples, as Katakawa, oh my god, are they notorious for striking ReZero content on YouTube. So, to help me out in putting my channel on the line, order some GamerSubs, at least some free GamerSubs, and leave a like and subscribe, as I'll be covering ReZero Season 3 weekly. Subaru's return to Krush's manor after the battle with the witch cult takes a devastating turn when he discovers that Rem has been completely forgotten by everyone around him. The reality sinks in. Rem, along with Krush, were ambushed by the Sin Archbishops of Gluttony, Lai Botankaidos, and Greed, Regulus Corneus, in a fierce but ultimately tragic battle. Both Rem's existence and Krush's memories were devoured by Lai. This leaves Rem in a comatose state remembered by no one but Subaru, while Krush is left struggling with her memories. Overwhelmed with sorrow, Subaru takes the drastic step of ending his life, hoping to rewind time and save Rem before the ambush. Yet, to his horror, he returns only to find that the tragedy has already unfolded with no way to undo it. Later, a grief-stricken Subaru joins a meeting alongside Amelia, the memory-erased Krush, Felix, and Wilhelm. Although tensions run high with emotions flaring in the aftermath of the ambush, they ultimately agree to maintain their alliance moving forward, and after the meeting, Amelia, noticing Subaru's deep sorrow, offers him comfort as he mourns the loss of Rem, whose presence lingers only in his memory. Subaru and Amelia, accompanied by Otto and the comatose Rem, return to Roswall's manor, where they are greeted by Frederica, a former maid summoned back by Rem, and Petra, a young apprentice from Arlem Village. While Amelia is brought up to speed by Frederica, Subaru seeks out Beatrice to ask about Betelgeuse's gossip. Instead of answers, Beatrice directs him to the sanctuary, where Frederica reveals that Roswall, Ram, and the evacuated Arlem villagers are currently staying. Determined to find answers, Subaru, Amelia, and Otto decide to journey to the sanctuary. Frederica warns them that the sanctuary is encased in a mystical barrier that prevents entry or exit, and hands Amelia a crystal to open the way. Upon entering the sanctuary, the crystal unexpectedly lights up, causing Amelia to lose consciousness. In an attempt to help her, Subaru grabs the crystal and is suddenly transported to a mysterious forest. There, Subaru briefly spots a fleeing elf girl. He chases after her, but the trail leads him to an ancient ruin. Stepping inside, he is once again transported, this time to a vast open plain, where he meets a striking woman who introduces herself as the Witch of Greed, Echidna. Subaru finds himself in a surreal mental space, the domain of Echidna's soul. The enigmatic Witch of Greed invites him for tea, where they engage in a cryptic exchange of information. Realizing his main objective, Subaru decides to leave. Upon awakening at the ruins, he is immediately attacked by Garfield, the sanctuary's guardian. However, Garfield halts his attack once Subaru mentions Frederica. Reuniting with the others, Subaru is escorted by Garfield to meet Roswall and Ram. Roswall explains that the sanctuary's barrier traps half-breeds, including Amelia, and the only way to lift it is by completing a trial. Although Roswall attempted it, he was rejected for not being a half-breed. Garfield further reveals that the sanctuary's inhabitants are holding the Arlem villagers hostage, demanding Amelia take the trial, a challenge she accepts. Later that night, Amelia steps into the ruins to face the trial, but sensing something amiss, Subaru follows her. Thanks to Echidna's permission, Subaru is allowed to participate in the trial as well. However, upon entering the ruins, he collapses and inexplicably awakens to a shocking sight. He's back in Japan. As Subaru is grasping with being transported back to Japan, with no recollection of his life in Lagunica, reverting to his old ways as a Hikikimori, Subaru struggles with his past, staying at home and avoiding school, despite his parents' continuous efforts to push him forward. His father, Kenichi, and his mother, Naoko, are persistent, but something feels different this time. Subaru is plagued by intense headaches every time he tries to run away from his problems. Sensing his son's inner turmoil, Kenichi takes Subaru on a heartfelt walk. The headaches, as it turns out, are the result of Subaru's suppressed memories attempting to resurface. Once Subaru fully recalls his life in Lagunica, he fully opens up to his father. Subaru explains how he had always been compared to his father's greatness growing up, leaving him in a constant state of insecurity and unable to form his own identity. He confesses that, at his lowest, he even wished for his father to give up on him. However, he assures Kenichi that he has now found people who accept him for who he truly is, and the two share a touching reconciliation. The following day, Subaru prepares himself to go to school, with his mother sending him off with warm wishes. Yet, this moment is bittersweet, as Subaru has realized that this world is merely an illusion and that he may never see his parents again. With a heavy heart, Subaru heads to school, where he is greeted by none other than the Witch of Greed, Echidna, waiting for him at the gates. After successfully confronting his past in the first trial, Subaru is congratulated by Echidna, who reveals that 2 more trials still await. He awakens back in the ruin next to Amelia, who is in the midst of a severe mental breakdown, having failed her own trial. And trust me, get used to that sight. Gently, Subaru takes her back to their temporary residence in the sanctuary, where he, Otto, and Garfield brainstorm ways to bypass the barrier. Their hopes are dashed by Ryuzu, the sanctuary's elder, who informs them that the only way out is by clearing all of the trials. The next day, Amelia attempts the trials again, but fails once more. Her frustration compounded by the mysterious absence of Puck, who hasn't been seen since they arrived at the sanctuary. Frustrated, Subaru has a tense conversation with Roswaal, growing furious when the Margrave coldly admits that his lack of action against the witch cult was a deliberate choice to allow Subaru the opportunity to become a hero. Several days later, Subaru persuades the residents of the sanctuary to release the Arlem villagers, while Amelia remains behind to continue facing the trials. With hopes of securing more help, Subaru returns to Roswaal's mansion. However, upon arrival, the once bustling estate is eerily deserted. Before he can process the scene, Subaru is brutally ambushed and stabbed in the gut by none other than Elsa Granhirt, the deadly assassin from his past. Respawning once more in the sanctuary's graveyard, Subaru is greeted by Amelia's tears, and as before, he reassures her. This time, though, he suggests a bold new approach, taking on the remaining trials himself. However, unlike before, his proposal is met with cold disgust from Garfield and deep disappointment from Amelia, who believes Subaru doesn't trust her abilities. In a heart-to-heart with Roswaal, Subaru unveils his intention to return to the mansion early to check on Frederica. To his surprise, Roswaal offers Ram as a companion for the journey. On the road back, Ram begins experiencing flashes of vague memories, prompting Subaru to confide in her about Rim. Upon reaching the mansion, Subaru escorts Ram to see Rim, but his focus quickly shifts to questioning Frederica about the teleporting stone that she gave them. Bound by an oath, Frederica remains tight-lipped. Suddenly, Elsa, the deadly assassin, appears, holding Petra hostage. Chaos ensues as Subaru, Ram, and Frederica scramble to save Petra and make their escape. Frederica, in a desperate move, transforms into her beast form to engage Elsa in combat. And as Subaru, Ram, and Petra attempt to rescue Rim, they are blindsided by a mob beast. One by one, they fall, each ally perishing, leaving Subaru to face Elsa alone. In a desperate confrontation, Subaru tries to coax a confession from Elsa about who sent her, but she only offers cryptic hints before closing in for the kill. As Elsa moves in, Subaru leaps into Rim's room in a final act of protection, only to find himself unexpectedly transported into Beatrice's domain, his heart racing with sheer terror at the new twist of fate he has just encountered. In a storm of rage and despair, Subaru lashes out at Beatrice, furious that she saved only him and no one else. His frustration boils over as he contemplates ending it all to force a reset, but Beatrice steps in, halting his suicide attempt. Subaru's eyes fall upon a peculiar book in her possession, a supposed witch cult gospel. His questions press her until she finally snaps, revealing that all her actions, every move she made for him, were dictated by the book's orders, not of her own free free will. And before Subaru can grasp the full weight of her words, Elsa barges in and kills him yet again. Respawning back at square one, Subaru is determined to take the trial in Emilia's place. During a private conversation with Garfield and Ryuzu, he shares his latest plan. However, Subaru's increasing miasma from his repeated deaths sparks suspicion. Garfield and Ryuzu now believe Subaru to be a witch cultist and swiftly imprison him. But hope isn't lost. Otto comes to the rescue, revealing that he and Ram have devised an escape plan. When Subaru, still puzzled by Otto's loyalty, asks why he's risking so much, Otto's response is simple yet profound. Because they're friends. Despite Otto and Ram urging him to flee, Subaru decides he must confront Roswaal about Beatrice. In this tense exchange, Roswaal drops a bombshell. The book Beatrice has is no ordinary gospel, one of the 2 tomes of wisdom, texts that reveal the future to their readers. Roswaal cryptically tells Subaru that all he needs to do is tell Beatrice, "I am that person," leaving Subaru bewildered. Things spiral quickly as Garfield arrives, forcing Subaru to flee atop his trusty land dragon, Patrish. While Ram courageously holds Garfield off, Otto and the Arlem villagers lend a hand to help Subaru escape. Tragically, Garfield catches up, mercilessly killing them all before Subaru barely crosses the sanctuary's barrier. But before he can gather himself, he's teleported away by Frederica's crystal, rendering him unconscious. Subaru wakes up back in Sanctuary, only to find it eerily abandoned and frozen over. His dread is realized when a swarm of vicious rabbit maw beasts ambush him, tearing him apart. After respawning, Subaru is utterly traumatized by the gruesome experience, teetering on the edge of sanity. But just as he's about to lose hope, Echidna appears. In her ethereal space, she reveals that she knows about his return by death ability, and within her realm, Subaru can speak freely about it without consequence. Overcome with relief, Subaru finally unburdens himself, sharing the horrors he's endured while Echidna offers him much needed comfort. In the aftermath of his harrowing experiences, Echidna explains that the rabbit maw beasts are the Great Rabbit, one of the 3 great maw beasts created by the Witch of Gluttony, Daphne. She also informs Subaru that the other witches of sin dwell in her space, and though he is offered a chance to meet Daphne, it is Typhon, the Witch of Pride, who confronts him first. Typhon, wielding her terrifying power, shatters Subaru's body, testing to see if he is truly a sinner. Just when it seems Subaru's ordeal might be endless, Minerva, the Witch of Wrath, intervenes and heals him, allowing him to finally meet Daphne. Though the meeting mostly consists of circular arguments, Daphne does drop a crucial piece of information. The Great Rabbit is drawn to strong magic. Armed with this knowledge, Subaru departs, but his reprieve is short-lived. Upon waking, he is horrified to find that Satella, punishing him for discussing the return by death, has wreaked havoc on the sanctuary, killing nearly everyone. As she starts to consume him with her miasma, Garfield comes to his rescue. Meanwhile, Roswaal faces his own dire situation, being consumed by the same miasma. As he succumbs, he reflects cryptically that Subaru will have to try harder next time, all the while clutching a mysterious book hinting at deeper, ominous plans yet to unfold. In a desperate bid to save the sanctuary, Garfield rallies an army of Ryuzu clones against Satella, but the assault fails miserably, resulting in his death. Upon respawning, Subaru is relieved to find that Emilia is still herself. Determined to uncover more secrets, he ventures into the sanctuary and discovers a hidden lab housing the original Ryuzu Meyer in suspended animation. There, he is confronted by the village elder, Ryuzu, who reveals that she and her clones were created by Echidna as a part of an immortality experiment. Ryuzu also informs Subaru that his encounter with Echidna has made him an apostle of greed, granting him control over the clones. With this new understanding, Subaru reconnects with Emilia, persuading her to rely on him. The next morning, he sets off for the mansion alone, but is intercepted by Garfield. Armed with the knowledge from Echidna that his return by death has no limits, Subaru remains unfazed and convinces Garfield to let him pass. Arriving at the mansion, Subaru acts swiftly, instructing Frederica and Petra to evacuate Rim. He then faces off against Beatrice, determined to resolve the lingering issues and protect those he cares about. Subaru seizes the Tome of Wisdom from Beatrice, only to discover it is blank. Beatrice, bound by a contract, reveals that she's waiting for that person who will grant her euthanasia. Their tense exchange is cut short by Elsa's sudden arrival. Subaru grabbing Beatrice, he escapes, but they are confronted by Melee, a mob beast tamer who has already eliminated everyone else. In a fierce battle, Beatrice appears to defeat Elsa, only for Elsa to revive and fatally wound her. As Beatrice succumbs to her injuries, she uses Frederica's crystal to teleport Subaru back to the sanctuary. Upon arrival, Subaru finds the sanctuary blanketed in snow and Amelia driven to madness by repeated trial failures. Garfield, desperate to stop the snow, confronts Subaru, who deduces that Roswaal is responsible. Subaru and Garfield face off against Roswaal, who reveals himself to be in possession of the second Tome of Wisdom and aware of Subaru's time looping. As the Great Rabbit launches an assault, Roswaal allows himself to be killed, providing Subaru a chance to reach Amelia. Subaru dies in her arms, his last moments spent in a poignant farewell. After respawning, Subaru finds himself at his lowest and decides to seek counsel from Echidna. Instead, he is thrust into the second trial, where he must confront the emotional fallout of his repeated deaths, causing him to spiral further into despair. Just when he is on the brink, Rim appears before him, offering solace. However, Subaru soon realizes that the figure before him is not Rim, but the Witch of Lust, Carmilla, who has been sent by Echidna to provide comfort. Echidna then appears, and upon understanding Subaru's desperate situation, proposes a contract that would allow him to consult her at any time. However, before he can accept, the other witches intervene, cautioning him against trusting Echidna. Echidna, forced to reveal her true intentions, admits that she desires Subaru's return by death for herself, and that Beatrice's existence in the library was a lie. She was placed there to await a person who does not exist. Faced with Echidna's sociopathic nature, Subaru severs ties with her, only to be confronted by the sudden arrival of Satella. Confronted by Satella, Subaru is told he should love himself more, but her words only fuel his anguish. Overwhelmed by the realization that the source of his suffering is giving him advice, Subaru spirals into despair, ranting about the insignificance of his life before attempting suicide to escape his torment. Yet, Minerva's intervention revives him, and Carmilla's reminder of the grief others felt for him during the second trial forces him to reconsider his worth. Regaining his sense of self-preservation, Subaru thanks the witches for their insights before parting ways. Satella ominously tells him to kill her when the time comes, leaving Subaru with a troubling mandate. Back in reality, Subaru is comforted by Patrish and Otto, struggling to cope with the trial's toll. He confronts Roswaal, who reveals his deep-seated disappointment in Subaru for failing to fully exploit his looping abilities. Roswaal's cruel twist: Subaru must choose between saving the mansion or the sanctuary, not both. Faced with the reality of Roswaal's madness, Subaru flees, only to be met by Otto, who has realized the gravity of the situation. Otto urges Subaru to stop shouldering the burden alone, providing a crucial moment of support amid Subaru's overwhelming dilemma. Convinced by Otto's unwavering support, Subaru shares everything with him, and together they devise a daring plan. The following day, Subaru presents Roswaal with a high-stakes wager. If he manages to save both the sanctuary and the mansion within this loop, Roswaal must relinquish his tome. Roswaal agrees, but on the condition that if Subaru fails, he must adhere to the tome's commands. Subaru then consults with Ryuzu about Garfield, seeking insights into the formidable Guardian. He later checks on Amelia, who reveals her past, found frozen in ice by Puck. She and the spirit lived in isolation until Roswaal intervened. Roswaal promised to free her fellow elves, turned into ice sculptures, if Amelia won the royal selection. However, Amelia has no recollection of her life before this point. Through persistent effort, Subaru manages to summon Puck, who discloses that their contract was suppressing Amelia's memories. Feeling that Amelia no longer needs him, Puck breaks their contract and vanishes, leaving leaving Amelia devastated. Overcome by grief, she flees, prompting a search by the Arlem villagers, with Garfield assisting in the hunt. During the search, Garfield discovers Subaru's scheming, just as Otto confronts him about his plans. Meanwhile, Amelia takes refuge at the ruin, where Subaru finds her. As Otto scrambles to evade Garfield, he uses his unique ability to converse with animals, setting a series of clever traps to buy himself time. Amid the chase, Otto reflects on his life as an outcast, always moving from place to place until Subaru and his friends rescued him from the clutches of the witch cult, offering him a sense of belonging he had long yearned for. Despite Otto's valiant efforts, Garfield eventually catches up to him. Ram arrives just in time to defend her ally, leading to an intense confrontation between the two. Meanwhile, in the ruins, Amelia demands that Subaru reprimand her for her decision to flee. Recognizing the depth of her self-loathing, Subaru reaches out with a heartfelt confession. He acknowledges her flaws, but insists that his love for her remains unwavering, regardless of her perceived shortcomings. This sincere declaration helps Amelia overcome her negative self-image, and they share a passionate kiss that ignites her self-belief. Rejuvenated by their emotional breakthrough, Subaru and Amelia leave the ruins only to face Garfield, who has defeated both Otto and Ram. Subaru admits the confrontation with Garfield, uncovers the root of Garfield's deep-seated rage, his mother's departure from the sanctuary. Garfield had always believed that his mother left him behind a decade ago in a search of a better life outside, abandoning him and Frederica. The heartache was further compounded by the traumatic memory of her death in a landslide as she attempted to leave. This painful belief fueled his vehement opposition to Subaru's efforts to free the sanctuary. In a fierce battle, Subaru taps into the power of invisible providence, granted by the Sloth Witch factor, gaining the upper hand against Garfield. As Subaru overpowers him, Ram steps in, urging Garfield to face his unresolved past and retake the trial. Through the trial, Garfield confronts the truth. His mother had not abandoned them, but had left to search for his father. This revelation allows Garfield to finally reconcile with his past and make amends with Subaru. With Garfield's internal conflict resolved, Amelia prepares to take on the trial once more. Subaru, with renewed hope, promises Amelia a proper date once the trials are completed. As Amelia steps into the trial, she is greeted by Echidna, who refers to her as the witch's daughter, signaling a pivotal moment in her journey. In a surreal journey through Amelia's memories, she finds herself enveloped in a dreamlike state guided by Echidna. She revisits the enchanting scenes of her childhood, reliving moments in the princess room and her time with her beloved aunt, Mother Fortuna. Amelia, a young and curious child, observes her aunt from a distance, noting Fortuna's interactions with Betelgeuse and other members of the witch cult who deliver donations of books and clothing. Betelgeuse, with his sinister charm, inquires about a mysterious seal, hinting at its significance and how Amelia's parents would be displeased if anything were to happen to it. Amelia, intrigued by the repeated mention of the seal, follows a lesser spirit to a hidden black door in a snowy forest clearing, sensing its importance. As the story unfolds, Amelia sees Fortuna and Betelgeuse deepening their relationship. Fortuna discovers Amelia's talent for spiritual arts, while Betelgeuse inadvertently reveals that Amelia's parents have passed away. Fortuna reassures Amelia that they will discuss her parents in due time. However, their moment of solace is abruptly interrupted when they are confronted by Regulus Corneus, the Sin Archbishop of Greed, whose presence threatens to shatter their fragile peace. Outside the graveyard, Ryuzu Shima reveals to Subaru and the group that she has undergone the trial, inheriting some memories of the original Ryuzu Meyer. Long ago, Ryuzu befriended Beatrice while her mother, Echidna, was occupied. During this time, Ryuzu also met a young Roswell. Meanwhile, in Amelia's trial, Fortuna and Betelgeuse are protecting young Amelia from Regulus, who is now accompanied by Pandora, a white-haired girl searching for the key and seal. Betelgeuse instructs Fortuna to flee with Amelia while he holds off their attackers. He opens a cursed box, which grants him the ability to use his unseen hands against Regulus. Impressed by Betelgeuse's resolve, Pandora grants him the title of Sloth. Echidna then persuades the current Amelia to confront her past, transporting them back to the scene with young Amelia and Fortuna. Fortuna realizes she must rejoin Betelgeuse and asks Archie to escort Amelia to safety. Before parting, Comforting, Fortuna reassures young Amelia that she will never be alone, and both Amelias are overwhelmed with emotion. As Archie escorts Amelia through the forest, he is attacked by the Black Serpent and succumbs to its infection, though he manages to get Amelia to continue running alone. Fortuna rejoins Betelgeuse, but Pandora tries to calm the enraged Regulus. In a fit of rage, Regulus seemingly kills Pandora, who then reappears and sends Regulus away. Amelia returns to the seal, hoping to find a way to assist Betelgeuse and Fortuna, only to find Pandora waiting for her. Pandora reveals to Amelia that, as the witch's daughter, she holds the key to unlock the seal and tries to persuade Amelia to do just that. Despite Pandora's promise of no harm to the forest's inhabitants if Amelia complies, Amelia refuses due to a vow she made to Mother Fortuna. Fortuna soon arrives, offering comfort and courage to Amelia while battling Pandora. In the ensuing chaos, Betelgeuse joins the fray, but, lost in a furious haze, accidentally delivers a fatal blow to Fortuna. The dying Fortuna apologizes to her brother for not doing more for his daughter, and Amelia, filled with sorrow, forgives her. As Fortuna succumbs to her injuries, Betelgeuse descends into madness upon realizing the gravity of his actions. Pandora praises Betelgeuse's madness as a reflection of his love. Overwhelmed by grief, Amelia's uncontrolled magic freezes the entire forest as she attempts to kill Pandora. Before Amelia can completely succumb to her despair, Pandora erases Amelia's memories of her own existence and departs with a laughing Betelgeuse. With the trial concluded, Amelia reflects on her past decisions and the person she used to be. She resolves to fight to save her frozen friends and family, envisioning a future where they can live happily. Echidna acknowledges Amelia's success in passing the trial, and Amelia awakens in the temple, mourning the loss of her mother. Meanwhile, Subaru, Otto, and Garfield confront Roswaal, who reveals that Otto, despite his seemingly minor role in the prophecy, has enabled Subaru to rewrite the game and has earned Roswaal's respect. Subaru demands Roswaal's surrender, having uncovered the true purpose of the sanctuary. In the past, Roswaal is saved by Echidna during his magical release period and becomes her pupil. His admiration for her grows into love as he forms a close bond with her, Beatrice, and Ryuzu as they care for the sanctuary. However, their peace is threatened when the Devil of Melancholy, Hector, arrives. Roswaal fears for the sanctuary's safety due to the incomplete barrier. To protect them, Ryuzu volunteers to act as the core for the barrier, sacrificing her life as a gesture of gratitude to Echidna. Roswaal and Echidna engage Hector in battle, buying time for Beatrice to escort Ryuzu to the core. Beatrice, heartbroken, tries to dissuade Ryuzu from her decision, but Ryuzu is resolute. They share a tearful farewell as Ryuzu undergoes her sacrifice. In the present, Subaru confronts Roswaal, pleading for him to halt the attack on the mansion. Roswaal refuses, believing that minor changes are insufficient to alter the fate written in the tome. He argues with Subaru, insisting that feelings are a weakness and that no one can change. Roswaal's obsession with his love for Echidna has twisted his ideals. He accuses Subaru of reflecting his own flaws, particularly in how they impose their ideals on the women they love. Subaru denies this comparison and defends Amelia. Meanwhile, Amelia emerges from the graveyard and reunites with Ram, who had been waiting for her. With the surrender negotiations having collapsed, Subaru, Otto, and Garfield decide to return to the mansion to prevent Elsa from wreaking havoc. Garfield reveals his unique heritage. He is a mixed blood with a human mother and a non-human father, which allows him to leave the sanctuary at will. Ram informs Amelia about Subaru's plan and urges her to save Roswaal from his obsessive delusions. Just then, Roswaal reveals himself. He attempts to argue that he and Subaru are similar in their instances of imposing their ideals onto others, but Amelia fiercely rejects this notion. Reflecting on her earlier conversation with Subaru, Amelia tells Roswaal that Subaru loves her for who she is, flaws and all, which deeply shocks Roswaal. As Amelia prepares to re-enter the trial, Roswaal departs, instructing Ram to wait for Amelia to complete the trial. Instead, Ram confronts Roswaal at Ryuzu's crystal, where he wields the Tome of the Sage. Roswaal reveals his plan to use the excess mana stored in the crystal to create a snowfall that will summon the terrifying Great Rabbit. He anticipates that Ram is there for retribution, believing she seeks vengeance for the destruction of her village by his hand. However, Ram expresses her desire to save Roswaal from Echidna's delusions and unveils her trump card, assistance from Puck. But meanwhile, back at the mansion, Elsa begins her assault on Petra and Frederica. Garfield, now armored, arrives just in time to reunite with her sister. As Garfield prepares to engage Elsa, Subaru arrives to confront Petra before heading off to find Beatrice. As Garfield and Elsa clash fiercely, Subaru seeks out Beatrice in her library. Beatrice reveals that she feels resigned to her fate as foretold by the tome, accepting it as her purpose. Subaru tries to convince her to abandon her vow to Echidna and forge a new path for herself. When Beatrice asks if he is that person who can help her, Subaru hesitates, and before he can explain further, Beatrice instinctively kicks him out of her room. Subaru regroups with Otto, Petra, and Frederica, who is carrying the unconscious Rem. They encounter Meili, and Frederica decides to stay behind and fight her. Subaru and the others make their way to a secret escape passage but are halted by a mob beast, the Guilty Low. Meanwhile, Amelia is in the midst of her second trial. She finds herself in an alternate present where she lives peacefully in her forest with Fortuna and Betelgeuse. After sharing a picnic where she encourages them to be more open about their feelings, she converses with Archie, and here Amelia reaffirms her resolve to be a worthy person like those who have supported her, past and present, and expresses her desire to help others. Archie, now revealed to be Echidna, is thanked by Amelia for showing her this world. Echidna, though, looks on with a mix of sadness and tears, expressing her hatred for Amelia before vanishing. Now, emerging back into the real world, Amelia is met with encouragement from both villagers and demi-humans who are inspired by Garfield's resolve. They rally around her, cheering her on, and then Amelia re-enters the graveyard to face the third and final trial, determined to confront the disaster yet to come. As the battle rages on, the mob beast Guilty Low's attack sets the mansion ablaze. Subaru rushes off to find Beatrice while Otto and Petra make their escape through the inferno. In the graveyard, Amelia faces the third trial. She is bombarded with a chaotic array of visions and voices from potential futures. Alone in Echidna's headspace, Amelia encounters Minerva, who keeps her face and identity concealed. Minerva notes that Echidna is too distressed to meet Amelia and briefly mentions Amelia's mother before departing. Amelia, hopeful, promises Minerva that their next meeting will include a tea party with Echidna. Awakening from her trial, Amelia finds and opens Echidna's grave, disabling the barrier spell. She exits the graveyard to find the sanctuary blanketed in a blizzard. Back at the burning mansion, Garfield confronts Elsa, revealing his knowledge of her vampiric nature and how she can be killed despite her near invulnerability. Elsa recounts her tragic past of isolation and the gruesome means she used to stay warm. As Frederica escapes with Meili, Elsa's distraction allows Garfield to pin her beneath him. And in a brutal finale, Garfield crushes Elsa with the corpse of a rock pig. Now in the snow-free sanctuary, Puck and Ram continue their intense battle against Roswaal. Roswaal reveals that he had placed a spell on Amelia's contract with Puck to undermine her during the trials. Ram, in a shocking revelation, declares her love for Roswaal and her desire to save him, which leaves Roswaal stunned. Seizing the moment, Ram grabs the tome and throws it into the fire. As Roswaal, enraged, unleashes a fiery blast toward Ram, in the aftermath of their fierce battle, snow begins to blanket the sanctuary. Puck quickly realizes that Roswaal had activated a spell to induce the snowfall before their fight. While Puck leaves to assist the others, Roswaal remains behind, attempting to heal the unconscious Ram. Amelia discovers a large eye sculpture that shields the villagers from the relentless snow. She learns that Puck expended most of his magic to protect them. Determined to help, Amelia ventures out and encounters the Ryuzu clones. Shima merges with the original Ryuzu Meyer, vanishing in the process. Amelia, alongside the clones, ensures Roswaal and Ram are taken to safety, choosing to stay behind to confront the newly emerged Great Rabbit Horde. Back at the burning mansion, Beatrice reflects on her past, her early days under Echidna's guidance, her interactions with generations of the Mathers, and her long wait for that person whom she suspects might be Subaru. Subaru Subaru returns, desperately trying to convince Beatrice to join him. As the library is consumed by flames, Beatrice once again kicks him out, unable to accept his refusal to tell her the truth she yearns for. Subaru emerges one final time as the last unopened door in the mansion opens. He asks Beatrice to choose him, promising that even though he may not live as long as she will, he will always be by her side, ensuring she is never alone in the tomorrows to come. A brilliant blast of light erupts from the mansion, streaking across the sky. Moved by Subaru's heartfelt plea, Beatrice takes his hand. Together, they reappear in the sanctuary standing beside Amelia. United, they brace themselves to face the looming threat of the Great Rabbit, ready to confront the challenges ahead. With their new pact in place, Subaru and Beatrice join forces with Amelia to confront the formidable Great Rabbit. Utilizing their combined powers, they successfully trap the mall beasts, and Beatrice seals them in a separate dimension using Al-Shamak, thereby saving the sanctuary from destruction. Beatrice and Roswaal then make their way to Echidna's grave, where Roswaal reveals his true identity as the original Roswaal. He discloses that he has mastered the art of soul transcription, allowing him to transfer his consciousness into each of his ancestors. Meanwhile, outside, Subaru and Amelia reconnect. Amelia, overwhelmed by their recent kiss, mistakenly believes she might be, pregnant, leading to a moment of awkward but heartfelt realization. In a dramatic turn, the group takes turns punching Roswaal as retribution for his numerous transgressions. Despite their frustrations, they recognize that Roswaal's assistance will still be crucial in the future. Roswaal reveals that an oath curse now marks his chest due to their bet, which will cause his death if he betrays them. With this reassurance, they reluctantly agree to trust him. Amelia insists on an apology from him, which he gives. Later, everyone gathers for a ceremony where Subaru is formally knighted in Amelia's service. During this event, Roswaal discloses his ultimate goal: to find a way to revive Echidna. Though he no longer possesses the Tome of Wisdom, he expresses his faith in Subaru. He also issues a stern warning, threatening to reduce everyone to ashes if Subaru fails to protect those dear to him. After the ceremony, Subaru finds a moment alone on a balcony where Amelia joins him. They reaffirm their trust and commitment to each other, solidifying their bond before returning to the festives together. Holy crap, thank you everyone for watching this recap. It was hell to make, let me tell you though, it was absolutely worth it. If you made it to this point, please, for the love of my voice, just drop a like on the video. If you want to support me further, also pick up some gamer subs using my partner code CTactics. Thanks everyone so much for watching. I love you all. Bye-bye.